walk around there so you can see that. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and call our meeting to order and begin with the pledge and an invocation. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for the opportunity together. We thank you for the young man that's going to do the presentation, and we thank you for everybody that's here. We ask that you would bless us, that we would make decisions for the benefit of all the folks of Pendleton County, but especially the students. Amen.
Amen.
And the first thing we have is the presentation.
So we have Ross Pownell from Franklin Elementary, 6th grader. And he is going to present his project that he had this year that was very, very successful. I believe he placed first place in the county, in the region, and the state, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And he was in the category of sociology. And so here recently, about a month ago, he competed at the state level and won the competition there as well. And so I'm going to turn it over to him and let you give the presentation, okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Lights, community, action. The impact of community theater. I'm a theater kid, and I enjoy performing my 2 local community theaters. And my love for community theater has driven me to create this project, which has 4 main essential questions. What is community theater? How did it start in the United States? How do people participate in community theater? And what impact does community theater have on people's lives? Well, community theater is a place in the community where people could go express themselves artistically through performance. And it started in the United States through a bunch of small amateur theater groups that were never really had a fixed location, and they were mainly traveling, so they were never documented. Until in 1877, in Jamaica Plains, Massachusetts, the Footlight Club was created. And it was created in a group of wealthy friends that wanted to spread creativity through the community. And it's recognized as the oldest community theater to date. Also, in the 1900s, people were bored of the same old, boring shows that were usually just classics. So they decided to create the Little Theaters movement that allowed community theaters to be more expressive with the shows they put on. And this caused a bunch of new shows and new theaters to be created. And I had the pleasure of performing in one of these new little theaters, called McCoy's Grand Theater in Moorfield. Although, because of that rush, there are now over 6,000 community theaters today. And they produce up to 24,000 to 36,000 shows a year. But how do people participate in community theater? Well, first, the community theater group asked the community to come down and perform in their community theater show. So when they audition, they might be lucky enough to get a role. And once they get a role, they will get a script. This is my script from A Christmas Carol as Scrooge. Now, once they get a script, they'll study it for 2 to 3 months and practice and perform scenes and acts and eventually the full play until they do the actual show on the show nights. But I wanted to get a more in-depth look about how people participate in community theater. So I decided to create a survey. Now, on this question here, it asked, in what capacity have you participated in community theater? The main response was actor. Even though there was only 36 responses, all these together ended up being 136 different jobs, which just shows how much it takes to put on a community theater show. And over here, it said that at least 44, or half of the 44 that responded, had participated in 10 or more shows. And that just goes to show that part of the survey. And the collaborative spirit is shown here with the number of how many people are in the shows. Now, usually regular plays like the Christmas Carol or Grandpa's Christmas Adventure would have around 20 to 30 actors in it, while musicals like School of Rock, Freaky Friday, Seussical, and Annie all would have 40 to 50. And in my most latest show, Annie, I took the chance to ask my castmates how in community theater impacts them, and also 2 other questions as being, what was your favorite thing about being a member of Annie, or would you do another show and why? Now, people said their favorite thing about being a member in Annie is that one of them is being on stage with my friends. And for the second question, they said they enjoy acting and they enjoy hanging out with their friends. And it impacts their lives by standing here. It has made me more confident myself and has helped me make new friends. But it just doesn't impact the actors, it impacts the audience as well. Because here, every single show, they have a night where residents of the Grant Rehabilitation and Care Center would come and be able to watch the show. And they really enjoy these. Here are pictures of some of the emails that they put out after the show was over, telling them how much they enjoyed the show. And it also impacts young people's lives too, because during Seussical and Annie, we had a night where kids from schools all around the counties got to come see the show. And here's some fan mail from Franklin Elementary School saying things like, I go to Franklin Elementary School, my name is Leah. Our 2nd grade class got to come see the school Seussical. It was the best play in my life. I loved Thang 1 and Thang 2. I love them so much. Just showing how much they enjoyed the show. And here, the community theater had collected food during the Christmas Carol show. Although, on my survey as well, I asked them how community theater impacts their lives. And they said things like, theater is a safe space and it gives me a creative outlet. Theater is where I found a home and a sense of belonging. When I was a young teen. It's a magical thing to be a part of, showing how it impacts everyone involved, including the audience and the actors as well, and even people who don't come to watch the shows. But now it's time for the curtain call. In conclusion, community theater is a place where people can go enjoy themselves and have a wonderful time. And it started because people wanted to entertain themselves and the community. And people participate by making new friends and getting involved with community assortments. And it impacts people's lives by giving them creative outlets and allowing them to impact themselves, the community, and everyone involved. Which is why I'm proud to be a part of community theater. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
When are you going to start Smith Creek back up?
There you go. That's a
When are you going to start Smith Creek Playhouse back up? You'd be just the right guy to do it.
Well, debatable.
Do you know where it's at? Smith Creek?
I'm sure, I don't know whether I got there or not, but
Very well done.
You did an outstanding
Outstanding
job.
job.
And it's
Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Very well
Easy
done.
to see why your
I can
project
fully
did
understand
so
why
well.
you won. Good job.
Thank you.
Well organized and well presented.
good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
been a long time since I've heard such a well-spoken young man.
Yeah.
You did
It's
a really
amazing.
good job. Thank you very much.
Excellent job. Thank you for coming in.
Great job, Ross.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Impressive.
Once you carry what you get out of the school, we'll see.
Nothing under public comment, so under student and staff recognition.
Today is National Teacher Appreciation Day, so I'd like to recognize all of our teaching staff across the county and the outstanding job that they do every day. And we certainly appreciate them and appreciate their efforts.
Okay. We've all received the minutes of the April 15th board meeting. Are there any questions or additions or corrections to those minutes? Or do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from April 15th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Employment of personnel.
B, permission to close half-time itinerant aide with Austin Mentor and CPI certification, itinerant technology integration specialist, and job exploration coordinator at West Virginia Guidepost to Graduation.
You have my recommendation to close the positions as listed.
Our superintendent's recommending that we close the positions as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a-
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the position. Is there any discussion or any questions? If there is none, then all in favor of closing the half-time itinerant aide technology position, please signify by saying aye. No, itinerant technology integration and job exploration coordinator. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. For some reason, it's not coming up on my Chromebook.
It took me a second, mine finally came.
Okay.
In C is approval to repost and amend the assistant principal's position at Pelton County High School. And I would recommend that we amend the position from 220 days and make it a 240-day position.
Our superintendent's recommending that we amend the assistant principal's position to make it a 240-day position. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions to this? Then all in favor of approving the request to repost and amend the assistant principal's position, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Right. Employment of personnel, Miranda Hess, third grade ECAT at Franklin Elementary School. April Simmons, third grade ECAT at Brandywine Elementary School. Kayla Van Meter, kindergarten ECAT at Franklin Elementary School. Sierra Bram, second grade ECAT at Franklin Elementary School. Travis Hevner, extracurricular high school girls head basketball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Hillary Fox, extracurricular middle school volleyball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Crystal Huffman Warner, extracurricular middle school assistant volleyball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Stephanie Amick, extended school year provider, and Linda Teeter, substitute contracted speech therapist at Franklin Elementary School.
Give my recommendation for employment of personnel as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we employ the personnel as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approval of the personnel as presented, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Approval of contracts, continuing service personnel contract for Amy Weimer.
Give my recommendation for approval of continuing service personnel contract for Amy Weimer.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the continuing service personnel contract for Amy Weimer. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all those in favor of approving the contract for Amy Weimer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next is approval of volunteer and chaperones for Franklin Elementary School and Pendleton County Middle High School as listed.
You have my recommendation to approve the volunteers and chaperones for Franklin Elementary and Pendleton County Middle High School as listed.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the volunteers and chaperones for Franklin Elementary School and Pelton County Middle High School as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approval for the Franklin Elementary School volunteers and chaperones and the Pendleton County Middle High School volunteers and chaperones, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes, and I think that finishes us up then under the personnel, and that brings us down to finance.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna try to get through this fairly quickly, believe it or not, Sonny, so I hope we don't take too long. So, gonna start with treasurer's report. For the month of April was a good month cash flow wise. A lot of taxes came in, that last large amount of taxes coming in April. We started with $2,144,022.01. We had receipts of almost $2 million, $1,949,000. Disbursements, just $1,131,000. And that left us with a current month ending fund balance, or an increase of over $800,000, $2,961,995.73. Now, this is not a trend that will continue upwards to that effect. It was getting some federal grant reimbursements. It was taxes coming in timely, but then again, that will go back down as we have summer deferred payrolls. But it is good to have a very solid cash position as here at the end of April. Going down the first page, we had 4.4% interest. That's still hanging in fairly well. For year to date, we have moved over the 100,000 mark from last July 1 to 103,727.09. The second page just gives some detail and breakdowns, but going back to the main point of the treasurer's report, current month ending fund balance, $2,961,995.73.
You have my recommendation to approve the treasurer's report for April 2025.
Our superintendent has recommended that we approve the April 25 treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions? And all in favor of approving the April 2025 treasurer's report with a balance of $2,961,995.73, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item are the bills under 7B. And one reason for the very positive treasurer's report were the collection of funds. And we didn't really have any large bills to be paid for the month of April. So I'm starting with page 1 of the PDF that shows our total was $571,940.28. $571,940.28. Membership due, School Board Association, the first one that I point out on the first page. The Aptitude program that's been talked about quite a bit administratively. The onboarding program that will be a consistent communications messaging program between students or between teachers and parents. Is going to be consistent countywide for $1,500. The next item is Epic. We talked about bus driver training and Medicaid billing for the services provided by Epic on page for $41,0832 as an example. Page 4 of the PDF, scrolling down, highway motors, just miscellaneous various repairs to the buses, $13,680.79. That is reimbursed 95%. The bottom of page 5, the rest subject to an agreement that was worked out earlier in the year, rescue squad at the ball games to help in case of emergencies or medical needs, a payment of $32.50 combined with the CPR first aid made $32.80 for that. The next item, page 6, simply goes, and page 7 talk about Gordon food supplies. So that just continues to be something that obviously we pay through our P card credit card program to Gordon Foods, the primary food provider. Going back up to the top, total bills for the month of April, $571,940.28.
You have my recommendation to pay the bills for April 2025.
Our superintendent's recommending that we pay the bills for April 2025. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
We have a
Whichever.
motion and a second.
You have 3 of us
Lisa
there,
can
Lisa.
sort it all out who did what. Do we have a motion and a?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Any questions or anything? Then all in favor of paying the April bills totaling $571,940.28, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no.
Mr. President, I did have one question, please.
Okay.
The Billy Warner towing, was that the bus was up on Timber Ridge in the ditch? Over the hill, I guess was more like it.
Yeah.
Was that it, John Sheriff? Thank you.
Yes, I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. So we have approved the bills and we move down then to the budget revisions.
Okay, budget revisions. Let's see here, let me pull them up. So we have 3 budget revisions, number 133 through 135. These are supplements adding to the budget. They're all grants, separate grants. First grant is called Heights Special Ed Funds. The first 2 grants are special education grants that help when you have high needs for low numbers of students, high expenses. And we have a couple of high acuity. The first grant is for $29,995. That will go to pay for some expenses and supplemental pay, $29,995. The second grant, number 134, goes for $21,995. One's federal and one's state. So we were pleasantly surprised that we received that much money, almost $50,000 total, which was a little higher than in prior years, which was good. The third and final grant for tonight, number 135, is Guidepost to Graduation. Carrie works with all 3 of these grants basically as the Director of Special Education. And she, this summer, she has some plans to spend the funds to use it for some supplies and also to use it for projects over the summer. So it's not the regular Guidepost to Graduation grant that we have been paying the past couple of years for workplace items, but this is a summer project and it's $46,900. The total for the 3, $98,850 for supplements 133 through 135.
You have my recommendation to approve the budget revisions, 133, 134, and 135.
Superintendent's recommending that we approve these 3 budget revisions. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second.
You're too late, Kate.
Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving budget revisions 133, 134, and 135 and a total of $98,850, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, 7D, we have a lease purchase resolution for locker purchase. So lease purchase can be used for equipment or items like vehicles, which we've done with school buses. This is an item that does qualify for that, and I believe with the good rates and being able to pay it off over multiple fiscal years, it doesn't tie up, take away the funding from any one particular fiscal year in a large dose. So this is an agreement for proposal for 3 years for the lockers, where Travis has worked with getting proposals, and they're buying off of a cooperative purchasing contract that's already been bid out cooperatively. So there's no requirement for bidding. It's already approved from the bidding standpoint. $82,508 for the locker replacements at middle school. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything about that project or the pace on that, but this is the request for a resolution for approval to enter into that contract.
So our lockers out to middle school are 27 years old, and they are in need of replacement, and eventually we'll need to take the next step and look at the high school lockers. But we thought the first step would be to do the ones in the middle school, and I do recommend approval of lease purchase resolution for the lockers at Pelton County Middle High School.
And JP, you were recommending that for the 3-year one, not for the 4-year one?
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? So we have superintendent's recommendation to go ahead and approve the leasing arrangement with Country Roads Leasing, $82,508 in the 3 years at semi-annual payments. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
I want to say something about those lockers. I don't think those lockers were taken care of. I was in the school building at the time, and one of the head teachers was not doing discipline to the kids who were doing the destruction to the lockers, and the faculty called a meeting to discuss it with that particular person. And the remark that person made after everybody went down his throat was, if you thought I didn't do anything, just wait. And he didn't do anything, and they just totally destroyed their lockers at that point.
Anything else? Then all in favor of the 3-year lease at semi-annual payments, 6.12%, payments of $15,806.72, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Motion passes. Lease is approved.
Okay, so the next item is the next item is the dental vision increase. It is just an attachment that says memo on it. So the increase for the employer costs, we're going to go from, it was going to be a 19% increase, it's down to a 15% increase. It is going to go from a Board of Education cost to just over $70,000 a year to approximately $80,000 a year. It does depend upon what coverages are taken, how many people take the coverages. As this memo says down below the second, the reason for the increase, of course, like the PEIA and everything else, insurances go up, is that people are using, in the representative's terms, the heck out of it. So a lot of our employees are taking plenty of advantage of this dental coverage. The vision coverage is included there as well. It is not nearly as costly. The total cost for the vision is less than $10,000 a year. It's the dental, but it is an increase. It is still, we believe, a good incentive to have in place for our employees, to have a benefit for them. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback in the finance office. Even providers that didn't originally take the, or dental providers didn't originally take the insurance are working with the insurance company to take it where it's possible. So it will be in effect, which is in the budget, of about a $10,000 increase in the overall budget. But since it does cover approximately 175 to 180 employees, providing dental coverage to employees at no cost and allowing them to add dependents, we still think it's a very good investment in our employees and by the school system. So the recommendation is to approve this again for the 25-26 school year.
You have my recommendation to approve the Guardian Dental Vision renewal for 25-26 school year.
So our superintendent's recommending that we approve this increase, continue to offer the dental and vision, and approve the increase. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or any discussion?
Is this the same insurance that's through the Mountaineer?
It is not the exact same. It is Guardian. It's one of the companies that are bid out. Lehman, Diener, Borntrager, and Harrisonburg sends it to about 5 or 6 different providers. Guardian has come back with the best rates. I think several other entities in town have used the Guardian / LD&B to help provide benefits. So it is Guardian Insurance through LD&B. So it has some similar options, and I think it has some a little bit better, but it's not exactly the same as the Mountaineer Flex.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of approving to continue with the 15% increase, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, the next item should be 7F, Child Nutrition Budget. So the Child Nutrition Budget talks about revenues and expenses for the Child Nutrition Program. We've talked about them off and on different times throughout the past couple of years. I'm going to focus on the first column where it says constant participation at the top, going down to the first column, which has numbers all the way down. It has numbers of meals on one side and inflation. So the column that shows 435, 448.03 at the bottom, that is showing what the contribution's expected to be for next year from the county. To put it in perspective, this year it's going to be looking like 395 to 400,000 in that ballpark, depending on how we finish the year. We did have some snow days this year that probably hurt that number a little bit. So revenues for the year are projected to be just over 693,000. Again, the first of numbers on the left-hand side coming down to the bottom. Expenditures are 1,128,490. The food costs, yes, they do increase over time. We're trying to trim back where possible. That just continues to hit us. The milk costs are 58,000. Food at 556. Labor at the 468. That's not based on any increased percentage. That's based on the actual anticipated labor cost for the new year. Repairs and services have been in the 40,000 range, projected to be 45,580. So again, the total sponsors contribution, I have checked with other counties. They're seeing very similar situations of going increased sponsor contribution, which means the county's contribution going from just over 400,000 to 435, 448. This is what will be submitted in the budget. So we are hoping those numbers come in better than that. But at the same time, it's a pretty conservative budget to make sure that we are budgeted accurately. So the recommendation is for approval of the 25-26 child nutrition budget.
You have my recommendation to approve the fiscal year 25-26 child nutrition budget as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve this child nutrition budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Yeah, JP, what do we do, what do we look to in the future to get these numbers a little closer together?
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do. I mean, we want to have more increased participation, which we need to probably bring some charts. It has gone up some over the years, particularly since the CEP, eating free at all the schools. Participation has gone up. We do have some fixed when you have food costs that are subject to inflation. We're trying to make sure that we use those food costs efficiently. We're also, though, told that every child should have a certain amount of food on their plate and a certain amount of options. And, you know, it's not always ideal from that standpoint. Sometimes there's food waste. But we try to minimize it, meet the requirements for the students to have the food they need to eat, but to meet the requirements. You know, obviously, like with all of our budget, a lot of the money comes into personnel and labor costs. You know, and even if our student enrollment goes down, those costs go up. Even if our student enrollment goes down, the food costs with inflation seem to continue to go up. So we are looking at it. We're trying to talk to other counties. It is a concern. And we want to try to improve that, but it's a difficult one in trying to make that turn. I've talked to Hardy, I've talked to Grant, I've talked to Pocahontas. They're seeing similar percentage increases. Ours looks like a little bit less than 10%, going from 400 to 435. Hardy County's was about 15% in their increase. So we're trying to figure out ways. It's just when you have fewer customers, as far as students coming through, and you can't control that, and you have inflation costs or other costs going in the opposite direction, it's very difficult. It is very difficult. And then, you know, some uncertainty at the federal level. We're trying to figure out the best that we can, but those are the numbers that we have currently.
You know, the people that make these decisions need to come watch these children eat lunch. Mm-hmm. And watch. I was at Norfolk here a year or so ago, probably 50 kids walked by, one kid ate his piece. And I think one kid ate them all in one ate part, the other 48 dumped them away. So why are we putting stuff on these kids? They're not going to eat it. You know, even if they have the choice, they're not going to eat it.
You know, I don't have the answer to that, other than when I'm at the schools, which isn't too often, I see some similar things, and you know, it always bothers me. But I know if we are ever audited or monitored, that they want to make sure that we're providing those options out there for those students. Now, if there's a way to work through it, I don't know, but I do know we have certain restrictions we have to work with on that.
And I'm sure that goes with the portion sizes too, right?
Yes, yes, not all the particulars, but yes, it does, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any additional questions or discussion? Then all in favor of approving the child nutrition budget as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The next item, speaking of the budget in general, is the FY 25-26 preliminary budget. So this is a preliminary budget. It is not the finalized budget that's there for all of that. It is the preliminary budget for approval that will be available for the public. If they want to come in and review it, it'll be on our website. It is primarily finished at this point. I don't believe the state is going to have anything additional to change. So I'm trying to get reconnected here on my end to the website. So I do have a couple attachments under 7G. I'm going to start with the proposed budget summary. The third attachment, budget summary 25-26. And then I've added some of the grants in. The Fund 11 general county is primarily the same as it was the last several meetings we talked about. So this budget summary document, 25-26, up at the top, revenues for the year and expenditures, $18,174,502. Going down to the prior years, the set of numbers down below, 24-25, that was $17,473,738. About over 300,000 of that increase is the PEIA insurance rates across the state for employer. We do get reimbursed by the state for most of those, but they show as increased revenues and increased expenses. Over 200,000 is increased carryover showing in our budget from FY25 projected to FY26, which we need to keep going forward. And then about 150 or 200,000 is general increases in years of experience for personnel that everybody bumps up a pay grade, and the associated retirement costs and Social Security goes along with that. Some of the reductions in the budget that are in there with the reductions in the positions are reflected. General inflation, whether it be for electricity or some other energy costs, are reflected. We'll maybe adjust those throughout the year. So it is not simply a budget that's increased for the sake of increasing. Again, over 300,000 are related to PEI health insurance costs, over 200,000 for the increased carryover, and that also goes into a contingency. So after that, you're looking at a pretty small increase compared from FY25 to FY26. Fund 41's permanent improvement, that we set aside money if we have needs for repairs and maintenance and permanent improvements, 50,000. Fund 61, that's the same both years, are the child nutrition budget that we just talked about, which increased some from the prior year. It is Title I, Title II, some of those large federal grants. We're putting those federal grants in at the same level as we have now. We have no official word from the federal government what amount we are to receive. One smaller grant, important to us, around 40,000, but smaller in the whole scheme of things, was reduced. But we do have some items in there like Step 7D that comes from the state. Most of them are federal, Faculty Senate. Again, the title programs and child nutrition and special education programs are by far the largest component. So it's a 70,000 increase in total. Over half of that's the child nutrition. Fund 61, 1,975,400. Fund 65 is transfers from the schools in and out. At this point, don't have any that money in and out. It doesn't affect our bottom lines the way the state wants to show it. So total budget for approval, $20,199,000 for preliminary approval, final approval in 2 weeks, $20,199,902 revenues and expenditures compared to $19,464,837.92. I will say I've increased the debt, the payment to principal for the lease purchases that we have on hand. Those are reflected in the budget. There is no outright purchase of a bus in the particular budget in 26. if we would decide for some reason to purchase a bus as opposed to lease purchase, for example, that could easily be done with a budget transfer. That's just an example. Otherwise, as we've said, we're trying to stay solid. This is a solid budget. If funding is changed down the road by the state or federal government, that obviously changes the picture. But given everything that we know right now, it is a good, solid budget on the books, ready to be approved at the next meeting for FY 25-26. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any, but that's the bottom line.
Give my recommendation to approve the 25-26 preliminary budget.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the 25-26 preliminary budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second, whichever. Okay, Sonny.
We have a motion and a second.
It keeps copying.
Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the 25-26 preliminary budget in the amount of $20,199,902, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
All right, under financial update, I'm sure Mr. Hedrick will get into potential legislative session in the summer, which obviously with the formula and everything that's so important to us, it will be very important to stay abreast of all that. So that's certainly a large item. I'm not going to go over that in greater detail. I did just have, as far as a handout, the broadband committee met several weeks ago. Not a direct function of the school board, obviously, but as a representative of the school system, I did attend that meeting. Mr. Hedrick could not attend. It was attended by MGW Lingo, that's working in the Sugar Grove area. It was attended by Spruce Knob Seneca Rocks, obviously that represents North Fork and has some other broadband projects in the county with some of the grant funds that were awarded by the state. The committee had not met in about a year or so. Mr. Gillespie with the county commission does a lot of the work with the broadband at this point, but we kind of wanted to see the broadband committee getting updated to see what was happening there. The Sugar Grove project, while it's reported as being finalized, there's a few small things MGW Lingo needs to do with that. There are other projects that are being looked at, you know, and then you saw, which wasn't really discussed at the broadband meeting, there was a letter that went to the governor a couple of days after this that the commission was sending, trying to get more funding for broadband in Pendleton County. There's some concern that, you know, a small rural area like Pendleton is going to be pushed to look more at the satellite internet like Starlink, which does work in certain areas and works very well. There's obviously concern about the quiet zone. There's the concern about future, you know, what's going to happen there. So the Broadband Council and the County Commission very much wants to have the wire, the fiber, to not have to worry about the quiet zone or what that might bring to pass. So the County Commission did send a letter stating that very point. So again, there's these projects that are moving along. It's still very far from covering the whole county. There are some spots in the county where the fiber is run and or persons have access to Starlink where it is a very good connection. So still working with that cooperatively, and there is the request from the governor's office to, as grant funding becomes available, to provide more to Pendleton County. So that's really all that I have under financial update, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for JP? Okay, thank you, JP. We'll say finance is done.
Thank you.
And we'll move to facilities.
Okay, I'll scoot it up here a little closer so you can hear me a little better. We'll talk a little bit about the MIP grant that we submitted a few weeks ago. Since our last board meeting, we did have a meeting with a couple of people from Charleston with the SBA, and you know, there's only so much money out there available for them to distribute, and I forget how many different applications they had for, I think, about $5 million is all they have to give out. So, the competition's pretty tough there to get some funding for that. So, the age of the building, that type of thing, you could tell they were a little skeptical about, submitting stuff. But I think they also want to help us get some issues fixed there. So that kind of led to another discussion with a company, and so I've got a meeting on Thursday with Mike Talkington, who works with HVAC stuff out in the Clarksburg area, and he's going to bring a team in that works with the Daikin units and stuff like that, and we're going to take a look at what we have there and see if there's any way we can kind of correct some of the issues that we're having without, using the least amount of money possible to get those corrections made. So I'll know a little bit more probably after that meeting on Thursday, and I can give you an update at our next board meeting. Mr. Hedrick, do you want to say any more on that? May 20th, just a reminder, we're going to meet out at the Alt Ed building, and JR will be bringing a crew of his guys that built and installed the building out there for our Alt Ed students and teachers. And so we'll do a little walk through there, get some pictures. Maybe the paper can show up there and get an official photograph, and we can thank all the people that contributed to getting a nice building in there for our students and teachers.
What time will we be out there?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. And then we can transition down here after that.
Great, thank you.
Wanted to just kind of follow up a little bit on the lockers. I've had for about 2 years staff and students out there talk to me a little bit about the lockers and the frustrations they have with, those kids are coming up from elementary school. They've never had a locker. They've never had to open a locker before. And so there was just a lot of issues with those lockers. And so, we did look at some different options there as far as replacement goes, and we settled on one. And so I'm going to work with the company here, probably starting tomorrow, to try to get things in place to see if we can get those installed before the beginning of the school year. So that'll be kind of the plan, is to try to see if we can make that happen.
Travis says all our schools had the lockers we had made up that they can work with.
We move those around. I'm not sure what building it's at now. I'd have to check to see, but that is one of the things they get at the end of the 6th grade year, is to practice the combinations on that.
How long does one school have it? 2-3 days?
A couple weeks. Yeah, so we're getting down. I'm not sure where it's at currently, but I can check and see where it's at. And I actually heard somebody today. Oh, it was Brooke actually was telling me that at North Forks that they're getting ready for their 6th grade graduation, and they actually had a local business donate combination locks to the students so they could take them home over the summer and practice, because that's one of the challenges you run into is figuring that out. So
it might be an idea next year to have one of them for each school. It can't be that expensive to build that, and they could have it all year long.
Yeah, with the materials that we take out here, we probably could salvage enough and put it on a cart like that.
Yeah, just
and
let each school have their own for all
store
year.
that. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say about that is Pilgrim's Pride in Moorfield was looking for a community project with the schools, and they're making a donation towards those lockers as well. So that's something I wanted to point out, that they're going to provide a little bit of funding there to help us get those lockers installed. So that'll be a project to hopefully get taken care of. So
Speaking of Pilgrim's Pride, a couple of years ago, didn't Eric, or maybe last year, they were going to donate toward a practice facility?
Yeah, and that kind of fell through with, and I never heard any more about that. And I don't know if that was some of the same funding that ended up coming into the building area. I worked with Mr. Smith down there, and he was the one that kind of reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think he was in it like a open house or something like that, and the struggles the kids were having and stuff like that." And he said, "What do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Well, they've already asked me about replacing them anyway." So, and he thought that'd be a good project for them to kind of partner with us on. So yep. Any questions? That's about all I have for today.
Any questions? Okay, we'll say the facilities are done, and we'll move down to old business and the Dual credit courses.
So I provided you a handout, so you can have that, that kind of gives you a list of everything, and so a couple different things, we'll kind of hit a couple things on here. The honors courses are courses that we need to approve along with dual credits each year, as far as what the high school is going to offer. At the very top, you see the list of honors courses, and then we have a long list of dual credits. And now, the only dual credit that'll actually replace another course, a regular high school course, is the College English 101 and 102 will replace English 12. So any student that takes College English does not have to take English 12 as well. It'll replace that credit. All the other courses on here will be offered through Eastern. We'll have an MOU with them like we have in the past, and all those courses can be used for an elective at the high school level, and I will also get college credit as well. And then just down at the bottom, I added the AP courses that they're going to offer for next year as well. So,
Any questions? Any questions? So we don't need to approve these.
yeah.
We do need to approve these.
Yes.
Okay.
You have my recommendation to approve the dual credit honor courses as listed.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve these dual credit and honors courses as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? And all in favor of approving the honors and dual credit and AP courses as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. The self-appraisal, I will report that everybody has completed theirs and it has been submitted to the state, and it's on our website.
Post that on our website.
So that part is done. Thank you, everybody, for completing that. Down under new business, now we have textbook adoption.
Okay, again, I provided you a copy of the adoption list for this spring. This year was preschool and social studies. And so preschool teachers reviewed the materials and listened to several presentations, and they're going to select Apple Tree Institute for Education and Innovation. And then our K through 5 teachers, they want to adopt teacher-created materials. And our 6 through 8 group is going to adopt Cengage Learning. And for 9 through 12, it will be Savvis Learning Company.
You have my recommendation to approve the textbook adoption for social studies as listed.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve these. The textbook adoption is listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? And all in favor?
I was gonna
I'm
ask
sorry.
a question. What, this Cengage Learning, what is that?
National Geographic is
It's
the kind of the
okay.
name that goes off of it.
Okay.
Yep. They go under Cengage Learning as the company, but it's listed as National Geographic. We've never adopted them for any of, we've looked at them very carefully several different times, but have never adopted them for anything. They're a little smaller company than like your McGraw-Hill, HMH folks.
I think Eastern does something through Cengage. Now, this Savaz,
Savvis.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are the old Pearson company.
This is last year. And do we still have the reading series through them?
No, well, at the middle school there is, yes. 7th and 8th grade have Savvis as their reading, and our K through 6 group is HMH.
Any additional questions, comments? Then all in favor of approving the textbook adoption list for social studies as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. School board meeting change.
Just like to amend the meeting time for the Tuesday, June 10th meeting. We usually have that after our retirement dinner, but I'd like to do that prior this year. And then that way there's not that interruption of people trying to hold a meeting while people are still there. and I would recommend that we hold that at 4:30 here at the board office, and then the retirement dinner will be at Franklin Elementary at 6.
So we have a recommendation to change the time for the June 10th board meeting and the awards dinner. Do we have a motion to approve that change?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Any comments? Then all in favor of approving the change, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. And then we have the 26th board meeting schedule.
And I would make a recommendation that we approve the, it would be the 25-26 board meeting schedule, and please review that. We still have time to make any amendments or changes if we need to before July 1, but please take an opportunity to review that. But
Do we need to make a motion? Go ahead and approve it tonight, or you want to wait till another one?
we can wait one more. I'm fine with
That's what we
that.
usually do.
Let's just wait one more, that'll be fine. We'll put it back on the next,
Okay.
the May 20. They'll give you an opportunity to look at it, see if there's any conflicts that you guys would have. And Katie will email, I'll have Lisa email that out to you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we've.
Thank you. Did it work?
Yeah, we got it, thank you. You're welcome.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's the 26th board meeting to review, board meeting schedule to review and bring back. And now we've got the school improvement
I have
student
one
chief.
question, JD, please.
Okay,
Have we talked anymore, Mr. Edrick, about a retreat or anything? When we had talked about, with the new superintendent coming and new legislative changes? Should we look at that, or maybe a little later on, or?
We can look at that if you would like. June's pretty cram-packed. We could either look at that or maybe, again, Nicole and I can talk and look at some dates, but,
With all the new legislation stuff, and we have a new superintendent. And maybe after when's the interim meetings down in Charleston?
the interim's at the end of June, that last
Yeah,
week.
we may want to wait after that.
yeah, definitely. I had a little bit of time for it. When we were down Saturday for the discussion, Mulch Rice has been working like crazy to get what they had done during the session, the regular session, and they don't have it all done yet, all of the stuff that they've been working on. So we had a presentation, but it's all subject to
And
the
then
school
maybe-
board
Interim
association.
for June 24th, 25th at
Yeah,
Stonewall.
and after them, there may be some changes that we
Okay.
need to look at financially and stuff, so. I would suggest we do it, maybe before school starts, if we can, work it in.
Okay.
Okay. Now, school improvement student achievement.
Not a whole lot here, just we are in the middle of general summative assessment testing with 3 through 8. Eric can attest to this, that we've had our challenges already with not just us, but around the entire state. I think we've had internet issues for about 5 days in a row. And it's been, most of the time, it's been most of the state that's been out. Today, it was more of the southern counties. Yesterday, it was a good portion of the state again. Some of it was maintenance, some of it was cut fiber, some of it was faulty equipment. I think Eric told me yesterday that, the kids had to be signed on by, I think, 9 a.m. in order to start their test. And we were close a couple of times.
Until we got them on.
Yeah, so it's been very challenging.
And that was due to the state. They had a piece of hardware go to bad. It took out the entire state. It was every county, and every county's tested. It was awful.
Yeah, so yeah, that's been a significant challenge, and so hopefully things will start to run a little bit smoother, and we can get kids in and get them started on the time that they were supposed to start. But that's really all I have for that.
I know I think Charles says teacher appreciation today, day or week, Charles, is what you
Week, I
said?
think.
It's all week, but today is National Teacher Appreciation
But,
Day.
we should be very appreciative of the teachers that turn out young people like this young man and the young girl we had in the projects they're doing, how well they represent us state level. They're doing a good job.
So how did the children react when technology issues and they were expecting to do something and it's not there.
They're probably hoping that,
It
that they
doesn't
don't
work.
actually have to do it. Now, the people that are the most stressed are probably the testing coordinator, the principal, and the teacher, and Eric and James as they're trying to get everything back up and
I
running.
had to run down and get some extra deodorant from. I was stressing.
You need to do that new stuff, Lumi or whatever it is, right on TV.
But the kids are reacting okay. It's the adults that have the
Yeah.
stresses. Okay, gotcha. Any questions under school improvement student achievement? Superintendent's update.
Okay, and Travis touched on, this is our full week of testing. We're in makeups next week, and, you know, we appreciate all the work and effort that not just the teachers have put in, but our students all year. And, you know, looking at just our baseline, I think we'll be fine. I think we've worked hard, and this is where we see the results, and certainly we'll know a little more in a couple of weeks. But, again, I'd like to thank the staff and the students and the parents too. I mean, it's a group community effort that our children still want to do well, our parents want our students to do well, and our staff works really hard to make sure that they do. Just hit you a couple quick dates. South Branch Career and Technical Center's certificate ceremony is May 15th at 6:30. And I believe that's at the Vocational Center, unless they've moved it. Sometimes they move it whether up to Petersburg High School. Senior Awards Ceremony is May 19th at 1 o'clock. Baccalaureate is Sunday, May 18th at 6. Graduation is Sunday, May 25th at 2 o'clock. And the last day for students is Thursday, I believe, May 25th. So it's all 29th, I'm sorry, 29th. And I have 29th written down. So just my eyesight's failing me a little bit there, Wilma.
Why are you saying to me?
Well, I'm saying that because you're thinking it.
No, I'm not.
So, that's May 29th. We're just down to the last couple of weeks of school. JP did mention that the governor's planning on having a special session, hopefully this summer. He's wanting to have consensus. I do think that will probably come after the interims that we talked about that are at Stonewall. The two things he's really pushed out in all of his conversations is looking at PEIA and taking a deep dive into the school aid funding formula, which is based on enrollment. And as you know, our funding is based on the sparsely population for schools, and there's 12 counties that are under 1,400 this time, and that fluctuates, but that receive additional funding due to their size and their sparsity. So we will certainly, I've been in contact with some of the other counties that fall in that group, and we will keep a watchful eye and try to make those contacts with our legislators just to make sure that as we're going through this, that piece isn't left out, that we continue to look at small rural counties and realize that if you're under a certain population of students, because it's an enrollment-based funding formula, that you continue to fund those schools at a certain level. And I think that's it.
Okay. Well, that's a fairly long list compared to some.
Yes.
Conference and meeting updates.
Jerica and I will be at Fairmont, and Nicole is going out tomorrow evening. We have meetings with the Association of School Administrators. Also have, I think between now and the next board meeting, we have the South Branch thing that I mentioned, and I believe that is it.
And our next meeting will be here on May the 20th at 5:30, but at 4 o'clock on that day is the meeting at the Alt Ed building. And I will accept a motion to adjourn. Have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no.